What is up, guys? Orbital-Pilot back here once again in the world of Warthunder. This time taking the sky in the Spitfire Mk.XVI, specifically the short wing version. Now this is a very interesting plane, and before we get into the gameplay, I do kind of want to explain what it was kind of developed for. So basically the short wings give it a much better acceleration rate in a dive, along with a higher top speed in the dive. It gives it in ridiculous. I mean, this is an absolute ridiculous roll rate, and it's almost too much. It's almost too good. It's sometimes hard to get your guns on target. Now, this plane is completely stock. So, one thing I noticed about this, and it could be because it's completely stock, but I don't think so, is not the roll rate, the actual acceleration rate at altitude is just lacking. As you can see, we've been flying straight for probably a good 20 or 30 seconds now, and we are just barely making it up to 300 miles an hour. Now, going head on with the BF-109, not something I'd recommend. However, I am quite comfortable with these guns, so I was being a little cocky. Now, turning, oh my gosh, this plane has an insane roll rate, like I said, but because of the lack of surface area on the wings, its actual maneuverability is not very good. If you come from something like the Mark 9 into this, do not expect for it to be a turn fighter, or it's an energy fighter, but do not dogfight with this unless you know exactly what you're doing. Now, the engine performance is lacking still, and that's one thing that was really killing it for me. Normally, if this was a Griffin engine, I would be able, that BF-109 would be toast. However, I'm not able to keep up with him enough to actually get guns on target. I need a more powerful engine, and he is just running loops around me. Now, although the maneuverability may be bad on this plane, it is still fairly decent. But as you can see, it's not much better than the BF-109. In fact, I think the BF-109 beats it in some speeds. However, like we saw here, there's just no way I'm keeping up with that. Pretty much everything he has is better except for his roll rate. So it's an interesting match. I'm pushed down now. I'm at 2,600 meters. Most of the German team is above me. Now, I was actually really hopeful right here. My team looked like they were doing good. They were staying fairly high. I thought we probably had this one in the bag. I was completely wrong. Now, guys, I'm a good pilot. In fact, I'm quite a decent pilot. That was a little dumb. Probably shouldn't have done that. But I'm a good pilot in this game. I've put, probably my whole War Thunder career, too much time into this game. I can take one player normally. I can take two. I can take three. I can even take four sometimes. But I can't take the whole team. And that's kind of where this match ended up going. Now I have a bunch of teammates low. A couple P-51s, I really was hoping that they would be able to do something. Sadly enough, they just could not do enough to keep up the whole team. So far, we have wasted about 60 shots, haven't really shot anything. All planes are still flying. And I noticed the engine performance, even at lower altitude, is still fairly abysmal. I am just barely hitting 410 miles an hour. That's just a little too slow for my personal taste. Now, this is a completely stock plane, meaning that the ammunition I'm using is stock belts, which are not nearly as good as pretty much any other belt you can use. So keep in mind, gun performance is not normally like this, it's just because it's stock. Now, here's what I found crazy, is I dove down from 2,600 meters. I did a full inverted turn, and I am back down to 150 miles an hour. That is not okay. Now, of course, I was using some combination of flaps in the turns, but there's just really no excuse for that bad of engine performance. So now I'm dogfighting two DO-335s, a couple Focke-Wulf 190 F8s, a couple BF-109s. I'm fighting a bunch of people. Get a really good shot on the Focke-Wulf 190, swing back around for the BF-109. Me and this guy have been just playing it out all match. Now, I do get some fairly decent hits on him, but it's not enough to put him down. Same thing with the Focke-Wulf. Now, Doe 335 comes in, luckily enough, dodge his shots, and now it gets a little bit crazy here. I don't know what this guy was doing. Put some more shots into him. If I didn't have stock ammunition, there is a definite chance most of these guys who I shot at would be dead. Now, Doe 335 pulled off. Smart move by him. However, sadly enough, not able to get anything on anybody else. Now, I don't know what these guys were doing, but they were not very good. They were lucky I was in this bad of a plane. If I was in something like a Griffin engine, yeah, there was just no way. But as we can see, even at an extreme disadvantage, this plane was still able to pull through. It's not a bad plane, it just desperately needs its upgrades. So let's jump into something a little bit more biased, as the community would say. This is a match against the Russians. B-25s, Yak-3Ps, those were my main enemies. Now, this gameplay wasn't super interesting, but it had one really long dogfight against a Yak-3P, and I figured, you know what, if I can post a video where I can show this plane beating a Yak-3P, and this plane is not very good in my opinion, but if I can show it that a stock Spitfire Mk.XVI short wing can beat a Yak-3P, the supposed totally biased plane, then I think that kind of eliminates the Yak-3P's bias. So let's see what we can do. Now, once again, 4,200 meters, 311 miles an hour, absolutely terrible. It took me forever to even get up to this speed. I am not liking this engine. And it's weird because I believe it's the same one in the Mark 9, or even a little bit better, but it just cannot seem to pull this plane around like it does with the Mark 9. So, that is something I would like to see. Maybe it comes with upgrades, I don't know. But, yeah, this was a little bit of a weird Russian team. Normally, I find the Russians right around here. However, they had all mostly climbed to the left. Now, think about this plane is you don't really want to dump altitude because it's so hard to get up to 5,000 meters, which is weird, especially when you're normally talking about a Spitfire, because most of the time, they're simply rockets. So Yak 9, Year 2, not a whole lot of interesting things going around. But while we're waiting for the terrible Yaks to come, let's talk about a couple more things with this plane. Maneuverability is lacking, like I said. I'm not sure if it's its elevator. I don't think it is. Its rudder is fine. It's just kind of brickish. It doesn't really want to move. Engine performance, not that good. Guns, decent, don't get me wrong. They're just the same as every other Spitfire, but without belts, pretty much useless. This would not be the Spitfire, and take this with a grain of salt. It may change in the future. You may really like this plane. This is not the Spitfire I would take out as my primary one. I would shoot for a Griffin engine because Griffin engines are most likely my favorite engine in this game, or at least prop engine, of course. But yeah, let's get back into the gameplay. Now, 4,500 meters, I should be outperforming Yaks. That is not the case. Russians have terrible engine performance, or at least they're supposed to, at higher altitudes. Like I said, most of their fighters were low altitude fighters. However, we know that's not normally the case. The Yak-3 is outrunning me. I'm diving, struggling to hit 400 miles an hour, even in a very, very steep dive. But I'm not going to go off this guy. I really wanted a good fight against a Yak-3P. Now, P-47, I don't know why this dude is turning. He should be boom and zooming. He has every advantage right here. So trying to put a couple shots on, by the way guys, if you're a new pilot, if you're new to this game, this is the hardest shot, at least for me, to hit you in. And I think that's true for a lot of pilots. Spiral dives are just one of those things that make me want to pull my hair out. They're incredibly hard to hit people when you have to worry about how close you're coming to the ground, turning, and all the other things that go in with a spiral dive. So if you're ever in trouble, that's what I recommend doing. Now, remember when I said that this plane maneuverability was absolutely terrible? Well, here you can see it. A Yak-3P is quite easily outturning me. Engine performance is killing me. I'm dropping to around 160 miles an hour. I'm using both flaps, raising them and lowering them at certain speeds just to get on his tail. Luckily enough, I did damage his engine before, which basically I think saved my life. So guys, to wrap up the gameplay, although this plane isn't terrible, it's not something I totally recommend flying out, but go ahead, give it a shot, see how you guys like it, get back with me, and if you guys like the video, hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.